Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Liberation Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renee Jordan, and today we are going to continue on with our previous lesson, which included selecting a project to work on to help enhance your digital literacies. And so, what I have decided to do is I'm going to work on a professional project so that I can stretch my skills. You're never too advanced to grow. There's so much technology out there. There's so much going on that there's something for everyone. So don't allow what I'm doing to set a limit as far as what the possibilities are as it relates to the types of outcomes that you can achieve from the lessons. It's based on your specific interests, it's based on your goals, it's based on the information that you provide. So that way, it's going to cater to you and not just a general person. And in order to do that, it's necessary for you to go through and answer a series of questions so that when you get to the part where you set up your prompt to enter it into ChatGPT or Gemini, Claude, whatever generative AI platform that you want to use to help you with your project, it will have the details it needs in order to make sure that you go far. So once again, please make sure to follow, like, subscribe, and share. The Black Liberation Tech podcast is something for everyone. I'm specifically interested in helping those who identify as Latinas, Afro-Latinas, as well as Black women and girls, all the way up to PhD. You don't have to be in school, but that's just to give you a range as far as who I'm able to work with. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to the Black Liberation Tech website. If you want to be able to see what I do as far as the lessons are concerned, please be sure to join me on YouTube. Otherwise, I chop up the videos later and I post them on TikTok as well as other places. And so here we go. So I'm at the Black Liberation Tech website. It's available in both English and Spanish. Hello, Francisco and this guy. Thank you for joining. And I'm going to the lesson section and I'm going to scroll on down to the interaction lesson. So we have lessons that cover safety first, because if we're talking about working with generative AI, people need to know, hey, what to and not to do. Generative AI is a tool. It is not your friend. So please keep that in mind. Whatever you enter into generative AI, you want to make sure that it is something that you're okay with emailing to a stranger. So I don't recommend entering information that you want to have as proprietary, meaning you want to save it for yourself for patenting purposes or anything that you want to sell later on. So that's just the FYI that I like to hand out to people. Please be sure to follow so that you can catch me on another live. The next section I have is the career section on the black-liberation.tech site under lessons. And so that allows you to explore different lessons once again based on your interests. You can look at emerging fields as well as traditional fields and see where they cross in order to see what types of jobs are possible. And then once you see the types of jobs that are possible, go ahead and do a search and see if they're in your actual local area. Because if it's not in your area, it's not going to help you. The third type of lessons that I have, and the one that we're going to focus on, are the interactions. And so those interactions are going to allow you to explore your digital literacies as it relates to communicating and collaborating online, as well as navigating social media and online communities. One thing that I've noticed as I continue to scroll through TikTok and other places is that there are things that a lot of people just need to check for themselves and make sure that they have a handle on it in terms of what they want to share, what they don't want to share, what are the consequences of oversharing, or perhaps not vetting what you want to share with others, with someone who is more knowledgeable when you're talking about something that's personal. Since I'm dealing with a more of a professional standpoint, the information that I'm giving is out is for educational purposes. It's advice. It's not legal advice. This is not something that you have to do, but something that I want to share with you. And so because I already have that boundary set, there's only so much that I'm actually going to share. And I really do share a lot because I do share some of my story so that you can get an idea and wrap your mind around my thought processes as I do think alouds with the lessons, as well as talk about my experiences. I went to school for a very long time. I went to school for undergraduate, K through 12, of course, but undergraduate, I have a master's in education. I have a master's. That master's in education covers curriculum specialists, so I'm able to navigate that space in terms of helping subject matter experts develop and create lessons as well as training. So it's not limited to school. So if you're in HR or if you're someone who is a manager, if you are a supervisor, if you have to train anyone or send anyone to training, then I'm someone that can help you as a result of being a curriculum specialist. I also have a master's in public policy, so I understand how things work as it relates to nonprofits and government agencies, foundations, and things of that nature. And then my PhD, I am Dr. Renee Jordan. I have a PhD in instructional technology, which reinforces my ability to help train others, specifically as it relates to technology. So I translate technology to the everyday person so that it is broken down into a way that is manageable or a way that enables them to navigate the space. A lot of times, the people who create the tech might not be the best people to explain it and teach people as far as what they can do and all the possibilities. And so they hand it over to people like me who are able to train folks on how to use it. And so Tech focuses on prompt engineering as well as academic and career coaching. And that academic and career coaching integrates prompt engineering so that the information you receive is specific to you. Okay, so the lesson that I started last week was in the interaction section of the black-liberation.tech website lessons. And so that is D 2.1, embracing digital literacies. And so last week I read through 4 different stories to help give a backdrop as far as the different types of digital literacies that people use, how they use it. The lessons are based on loosely the research that I conducted for my dissertation. And so I interviewed Latinas, Afro-Latinas, and Black women in tech-saturated industries, and they told me how they use their digital literacies and how they go about learning them so that when I create the lessons, I'm starting off with them as the focus or the standpoint on which the lessons are built. It's based on them. Latinas, Afro-Latinas, Black women in tech-saturated industries, as opposed to what is already out there, which will tend to be not those people. And so that is called a cultural model approach. My methodologist introduced me to Sylvia Winter, the cultural model approach. She explored the necessity or creation of Black studies from the standpoint of those in the community or, yeah. And so what I've done, I use that in order to create a way of framing or going after the development of digital literacies from the standpoint of those who are part of Latina, Afro-Latina, and Black women communities. And so we read through the stories, which are loosely based on my contributors who signed off that they said they were okay with being a part of the open educational resource or the product, if you will, because this is developed for after school activities or after school programs. And so you all on my social media are part of my after school program, which is geared towards women and girls, but everyone is welcome. I'm specifically interested in working with mothers and their daughters so that they can work through these things together and explore projects that are based on what they're interested in and what they are doing. And so I have gone through the stories and I'm going to go ahead, for those of you who are not following along on the black-liberation.tech website, I'm going to go ahead and walk through the lesson where we are that follows those sets of stories that I read through last week. So if you want, you can check out the podcast from last week on YouTube or anywhere where podcasts are found. So here we go. Lesson: build and share your projects to empower your journey. And so here's the objective. The goal of this lesson is for you to develop a project that supports your personal, academic, or professional growth using the digital literacies discussed. So there were a series of digital literacies that were discussed in the previous lessons, and I'll go back through them momentarily. By the end of this lesson, you will create a detailed project plan, break it down into actionable steps, and connect with others, especially women in your field, who have done similar work. All right, so here's the first step. Choose your project. Focus. Start by selecting a project that aligns with your goals. You can choose one that focuses on your personal development, academic pursuits, or professional career. Consider using the following areas as starting points. Okay, so personal projects, you could build your online brand, which I recommend that be something that everyone does. Everyone should have their own professional, personal website that speaks of them, that talks about their capacity, their capabilities. I don't recommend just slapping your resume or CV up there because people are a little, these days, and you don't want somebody to just download your resume and then pretend like they're you. So if you do it in a way that allows you to show your capacity, as opposed to listing your specific job experiences with the dates and the details, something that they're going to have to do a little bit more creative work other than just to download your whole CV and claim it for themselves. Have your own website or LinkedIn or something where someone can go and say, hey, look at this person. Look what they're able to do. If you are someone who is into programming and deep into tech, definitely have a GitHub so that you can show others what you have done in terms of projects and get feedback on your projects that might be in progress. So the personal projects, these are just some ideas. You're not limited to this, but just to get your thought processes and creative juices flowing, you could build your online brand, start a YouTube channel, or create a personal website. As far as academic projects are concerned, if you are working, if you're in school and you need help brainstorming, just like you can brainstorm in a study group, think about how you can brainstorm with this lesson. I'll put it like that. Now, you do have to follow your institutional rules as it relates to the use of generative AI, whether they say you can't use it at all, or whether you have to disclose how you use it, or if you have to cite how you use it. Make sure you follow those rules. I was able to get through a whole lot of school without generative AI, and so can you. Now, with that being said, if you're able to brainstorm, so that just means you just chatting it up. You're not asking it to write your paper. You're not even asking it to create an outline. Follow me. But if you just need to brainstorm and get things out and get feedback on it, then perhaps generative AI is something that you could consider. But you are able to do school without generative AI. I did it. You can do it. It just takes a long time. All right. And planning. Everything takes planning. So some academic projects, developing a research paper, creating a presentation for class, or writing a thesis. These are things that you can work on. Professional projects, you can look at designing a marketing campaign, building a digital product, or launching a service. And so for me, my focus is going to be on the professional project, specifically a social media campaign. I've been working on black-liberation.tech. That's the website for 3 years now. And so it's at a place where I'm able to share it out with others. People are able to use it. I found it to be helpful with talking about the capacity or the ability or what people are able to do as it relates to prompt engineering. And so while someone might not use my site and do the lessons as is, it's a good way to take a look and just see what's possible. So that means you can go to the lessons, skip all the way down to the part where it says go to Chat GPT or Gemini, and then do those things. Look at the prompts that are there. See what might fit your need, but even more specific to you, you can take whatever prompt is there and say, hey, Gemini, hey, Chat GPT, this is a prompt that I saw, but I'm not working on this type of project. I'm working on that type of project. How can I recreate this prompt so that it fits what I need based on what I'm working on? And so that's a way to help you with your prompts as well. And you'll see that I have write and reflect questions in every lesson, and that's to help you build your actual prompt. So you need to provide context, you need to provide a background, you need to give the generative AI something to work with before you tell it what to do. And I'll give you a short story. So I attended a conference and someone shared how they downloaded data. This was a while ago. I'll just say it was a while ago. They downloaded data from the US Department of Labor about jobs and how much those jobs made and where those jobs were located. So all of this information that they could pull from the Department of Labor, and they front loaded their generative AI tool with that so that when someone did a query, it was based on that data. And so with that notion, I said, oh, I need to provide the generative AI tool with the specific information that I want it to consider. Yes, I can just tell it what to do, but if I just tell it what to do, it's going to look at the entire internet. And I don't want it to look at the entire internet without knowing what I'm talking about or knowing where I'm coming from. So that's why I have to provide it with context. And that context in the lessons come in the form of these reflect and write prompts. And so that's why I have the reflect and write prompts before we get started on the actual generative AI questions so that I can help set the context, so I can help set the parameters, so I can give the generative AI tool background information. All right, so here's a tip. Be clear on your purpose or reason for the project, whether it's to enhance your skills, contribute to your community, or build your professional portfolio. Okay, here's the next section. Number 2, reflect on digital literacies. That's the section that we're working on. So reflection and writing prompts. Now that you have your project ideas, remember I'm doing a professional project that focuses on a social media marketing campaign, something that I have not been able to work on lately. So now that you have your project idea, it's time to explore how digital literacies will support and enhance your work. Review the examples of digital literacies provided and select 5 that are most relevant to your project. For each of these, reflect on how they can be applied and answer the corresponding prompts. Write out your responses based on your selections. You can always return to these prompts later or choose new ones as needed throughout the lesson. So whatever 5 you pick now, you don't have to stick with. You are welcome to go back and select others or do as much or as little of these different digital literacy reflect and write prompts as you want. It's up to you. Once again, this is an open educational resource, which means you are allowed to remix it, reuse it, share it, modify it, adapt it for your needs. You're allowed to do that with this open educational resource. So these are recommendations, but you're welcome to do as much or as little as you want. For those of us who need structure, like I need step 1, step 2, step 3, don't just leave me out here to freestyle by myself. That's the purpose of these lessons. So it says you can always return to these prompts later or choose new ones as needed throughout the lesson. Feel free to skip any prompts that don't seem applicable to your project and instead explore guiding questions for online search. So if the prompts don't fit, you can just skip it and go down to the guiding questions and do those. Feel free to skip any prompts that don't seem applicable to your project and instead explore the guiding questions for your online search to learn how others are using these digital literacies in their work. Okay, so here are the list of digital literacies. And when I say digital literacies, it's talking about the different ways you interact with technology in online spaces or in digital spaces, if you will. And so here's the list: asking questions, communicate, connect, divvy up, So dividing up task, if you will. DMing, interact, justify your reasoning behind your decisions. That's something that you would need to do specifically if you're in school when you are completing assignments and things of that nature. Okay, so justify your reasoning behind your decisions, promotion, publicizing, streaming, taking notes, teaching. Those are the digital literacies for this specific lesson. And so what I've done ahead of time, I've gone ahead and selected which ones that I want to do. And so the first one that I want to do deals with connect. And so here's the first question. How do you connect with others online, either professionally or socially? So online, I connect with people on LinkedIn. I connect with people that I meet at conferences in person. I connect with people that I meet in different environments in terms of specifically professional, whether it's a conference, a workshop, a symposium, anything of that nature. If I'm facilitating it or if I'm attending, if I find that the person is there and we have a common interest, I will most likely share my LinkedIn with them so that I can catch up with them after the conference, after the symposium, after the workshop, after the whatever, so that we can talk further and see if there's an opportunity to collaborate or just keep in touch and check on each other to see how we're doing in our own projects. Okay, so reflect on a time when making a strong connection online led to a valuable opportunity. Well, in this instance, when I'm talking about connecting with people on LinkedIn, I met someone at a conference and I saved them on LinkedIn. I was very interested in what they had to say. They did research as it related to STEM and STEM education. And so I was like, ooh, this is a good person to have as a connection. And so an opportunity came up to submit a proposal for a workshop. And so I reached out to that person and said, hey, I met you at this conference. I think that this would be a good chance for us to collaborate. What do you think? And she responded, yes, it is a good opportunity. It looks like a good opportunity. I also connected with one of my classmates from my school. I went to Georgia State University and I had classes with people who were outside of my department. My department was the Learning Sciences department. And we had our research classes with others who were in the College of Education. I'll just put it like that. And as a result of connecting with others in my class on LinkedIn, I also reached out to her when this opportunity came up and said, hey, I think this is an opportunity that we can collaborate on. What do you think? And she said, yes, this looks like it would be a good opportunity for us to connect. And so those two actually knew each other, which was like a cherry on top, if you will, because it's like, what are the chances that they already know each other and work together so they know they can work together? And because I worked with one as a classmate, she knew my work ethic, and the other person would have the opportunity to learn my work ethic. And so we were able to work with each other on a workshop. It went really well. We had 92 registrants and it went very, very well. We were also afforded the opportunity to extend that collaboration with some other folks at another institution that we hadn't met before. And it all worked out. And so that was a valuable opportunity. Valuable meaning monetary, that came about as a result of being able to connect with some of my colleagues on LinkedIn. And so that was valuable. The next question, what are some challenges you face when trying to connect with others in digital spaces? Some of the challenges I face would be making sure that I remember where I met them. And so in order to do that, I might, in addition to connecting with them on LinkedIn, I'll actually send myself an email, say, hey, follow up with this person. And I can see at least the date that I connected with them so that I can go back through my calendar and say, oh, I met this person at this workshop. I was facilitating this panel discussion, so forth and so on. So I can have a point of reference to go back to them on. And so one of the things that I do, I'll say after they connect, hey, it was nice meeting you at such and such. Please feel free to keep in touch. And that way I can go back through my messages, whether it's on LinkedIn or the email that I sent to myself, to remember or jog my memory as far as where I actually met the person. And so I find that to be helpful. Now, the next question, how can you expand your network by leveraging digital tools and platforms? I can expand my network by by doing live streams so that I can meet people in other places who might be interested. So please feel free to follow. Once you follow and you seem to be a legitimate person and not a bot, then I will follow you back and we can connect and you can ask me questions about prompt engineering, academic and career coaching, and I'll do my best to either direct you to some information that can help you, whether it's on my open educational resource or give you a suggestion. Okay, so the next part says is a guiding question for online search. Search for examples of Latinas, Afro-Latinas, and Black women in your field who have built strong online networks. How do they establish and nurture their connections? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to head over to the search results that I had before I did some prep work so that I did not have to find everything live with you, but had some things already planned. So I actually have responses. And so when I did a search, I simply dropped the question into Google. And Google has that AI feature now. And with that AI feature, I just took what it had and saved it so that I can follow up and look more into the people later. Now, one thing to also remember when you're dealing with generative AI, you always want to verify and then trust. Don't just trust off the cuff. You need to go back and check out the information, make sure it's legitimate, make sure it's accurate, make sure that it is providing you with information that you're comfortable with. And in order to decide whether you're not you're comfortable, you can look at it this way. Are you the expert in that area? So would you know if it's telling you something crazy? So if it tried to tell me something crazy about education, about biology, about public policy, about grant administration, about, let's say, operations and finances as it relates to the things that I do, I can be like, no, that's not right. That's not good. That's not how things work, at least not where I am. And therefore, the information is not useful. So you can look at the information from the standpoint of an expert, if it's in your expertise, and determine whether or not the information is legitimate. And then you can go do some searches. Go to the .edus, the .coms, the .gov. Go to a company that specializes in the information. Find open educational resources. Go to where the experts go. So are there places, so professional organizations that have something to say about the matter and see what they say. So verify and then trust. And so what I'm doing, I'm just reading out the responses from my search. I'm not saying that these are accurate and you must follow them. No. This is just what came up in my search. And so I'm sharing it with you. And so here is what it said. Okay, so Latinas, Afro-Latinas, and Black women build strong online networks in technology and other fields by creating inclusive digital spaces, actively engaging in specialized organizations, and leveraging platforms for mentorship and visibility. Notable examples and their strategies. So we have Janelle Martinez, founder of Ain't I Latina, a multimedia journalist who established a strong online presence to address the lack of Afro-Latina representation in mainstream media. Her strategy. She uses her website and social media, particularly Instagram, to share stories, celebrate identity, and create a sense of belonging for Afro-Latino community. Her authentic storytelling bridges cultural gaps and amplifies underrepresented voices. Morgan DeBon. So this is our next person. Founder and CEO of Blevity Inc. and Afrotech. Please, once again, verify and then trust. A leader who has centered her mission on creating safe and empowering digital spaces for the Black community. Strategy. She built platforms specifically designed for Black professionals to grow, learn, and feel a sense of belonging, using these online communities as a foundation for large-scale initiatives like Afrotech Conference. So next we have Laura I. Gomez, founder and CEO of Antipaca, an entrepreneur in the AI space focused on inclusive talent platforms and a founding member of Project Include. Strategy. She uses her platform to advocate for diversity as a necessary competency in tech, applying a tech-first approach to solving diversity problems and promoting scalable solutions to unconscious bias. All right, so our next person, Ariel Lopez, CEO of NAC, that's KNAC, an Afro-Latina career coach and entrepreneur who focuses on reinventing the job application process. Strategy. She uses public speaking and media features to advocate for hiring based purely on qualifications, building her network around diversity advocacy and career development support for professionals of color. All right, our next person is Soledad Antilada Toledano, founder of Girls Can Hack, the first female computer systems engineer and researcher in cybersecurity division at Berkeley National Lab. Here's her strategy, according to Google. So once again, verify and then trust. So go look her up. Strategy. She created a niche online first community and meetup in San Francisco to normalize women in cybersecurity, providing a space for knowledge sharing and guidance in a male-dominated field. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through how they establish and nurture connections. So these women and others like them employ several key strategies, creating safe and inclusive spaces. They establish online communities, websites, social media groups, professional networks where women of color can share experiences, receive support, and find a sense of belonging, which is often missing in traditional corporate environments. Authentic storytelling and content sharing is the next item. They build personal brands by sharing their unique professional journeys, challenges, and success. This creates relatability and inspiring content that attracts like-minded individuals and foster genuine connections. Targeted engagement. This is the next strategy that they use. Rather than broad transactional networking, they participate in industry-specific forums and professional organizations such as Latinas in Tech, the Black Career Women's Network, and Lean In Circles for Latinas to connect with relevant peers and mentors. Mentorship and sponsorship. They actively seek out mentors and in turn become mentors and sponsors for others. This pay it forward approach strengthens the entire community and creates pathways for collective advancement. All right, providing value and resources. They focus on offering support, sharing job opportunities, educational content, and relevant insights to their network, building a reputation as a helpful and engaged professional. The next item, leveraging various platforms. They use diverse platforms from LinkedIn to Instagram and niche online forums to maximize their reach and visibility, ensuring a consistent and professional brand across all channels. All right, and so that is what I have for the first digital literacy that I'm exploring for this lesson. And that first digital literacy, just once again, is connect. Talking about connection. How do you connect with others online? And so what I'll do now, I'm going to push pause as far as walking through the next set of digital literacies. Well, I want to thank you for joining. Please be sure to give me a follow so that you can catch me the next time that I'm on live. Feel free to check out the podcast, blackliberation.tech, wherever podcasts are available. So Apple, Spotify, all of those places. You can find me there. You can find me on YouTube so that you can see the visual of the different lessons that I walk through on the blackliberation.tech website. You can feel free to try out those lessons and modify them based on your needs and interests. And that way you can get output that's tailored to you. Once again, with blackliberation.tech, I'm helping people with prompt engineering, academic and career coaching. So how do you navigate school outside of what's happening in class or even in class? Like, how can you navigate being in class and the things that you can do to help yourself along the way? You can join me on Patreon so that you can find out when I have exclusive content for my Patreon members. Once again, go to patreon.com/Black Liberation Tech. There's something there for everyone. My audience includes Latinas, Afro-Latinas, Black women, and girls, all the way up to PhD. Just to give an age range, there really is no age range, but just to give you an idea, I'm able to work with everyone up to PhD, specifically 13 to middle school, high school, undergrad, graduate, all the way up to PhD. If you are career searching and you're done with schooling, or you're going to school and you're working at the same time, I worked throughout graduate school. It is possible, and I did it before ChatGPT. So once again, I want to encourage everyone to see how they can use these generative AI tools as brainstorming tools and not a substitute for thinking, but a way to help lift the cognitive load. So you're not juggling 55 things at once, maybe three, and you give the 52 to the generative AI. That does not include personal identifiable information to the generative AI. So once again, don't put anything in generative AI that you would not email to a stranger. If you need to hear my lecture on that, that's my one viral video on TikTok that has over 8,000 views. Don't do that. There are people on the other end of the generative AI, and they're learning from you, and they're profiting off of what they learned from you. So while it's some of the platforms are free and open, it's free and open because you're doing the work for them. They're learning from you and you're helping their models out. So make sure that you're keeping your personal identifiable information safe. So full name, address, birthday, email address, usernames to different social media platforms. Act like you're talking about someone else. Oh, there's a student who is curious about X, Y, and Z. Do that. Don't always feel like you have to put you at the center when you are putting information in these platforms. So feel free to connect with me on Patreon. You can ask me questions there. And yeah, thank you for joining. I hope that you hit follow so that you'll be able to join me the next time. Once again, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Black Liberation Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renee Jordan. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share, rate, and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.